Hello everyone, welcome back to Touch the Fire Twice. I'm Joshua, and I'm here today to do a Bath & Body Works White Barn Candle Company haul and in-depth sniff review from the Spring 3 Late Spring Candle Collections. But first, if you're new to Touch the Fire Twice, welcome. My mission here is to share my love and passion for fine home fragrance as an enthusiast, an educator, a reviewer, to inspire you to increase your own fragrance knowledge and understanding, ultimately enhancing the scent memories that you create. If you want to learn more about what I do, why I do it, and how I do it, you can check out my website at TouchTheFireTwice.com, and please do give me a follow over on Instagram, also at TouchTheFireTwice. But for now, let's dig in. Though first I will say, we do have 5 candles to go through here today, but I just wanted to see what folks think about perhaps getting back into the From the Vault reviews. I did a few of them, 1 or 2 here you can see a couple of years ago, just because I have such a large candle collection, frankly, most of which is in storage right now. So literally my candle vault of many different brands, but primarily Bath & Body Works White Barn Candle Company candles. And recently I have been grabbing some oldies but goodies from the vault, partially for that nostalgia aspect, because again, a great fragrance will always take you to a mood, moment, memory, space, place, or time. And so I love scent memory. I think that's one thing that we all could probably agree on here. But beyond that, I do feel that a lot of the fragrances from say 8 to 12 plus years ago at Bath & Body Works were more complex, more intriguing, more interesting, just a little bit different, a little bit more left of center than primarily more mainstream fragrances that they release at this point. And so because of that, I would love to know if you would be interested in seeing some in-depth sniff comparison from the Vault reviews. So for instance, I've been burning the 2011 original of Black Pepper Bergamot, 2014's Light the Room Sparkling Apple Champagne, and Paris Daydream, the final from the recent batch, also known as Flirt and Sparkling Icicles. And so let me know if you'd be interested in seeing reviews on candles that you most likely are unable to purchase at this point. But for now, let's dig into our review of 5 new or mostly new candles. So first up, we'll start with the spring classic at this point, Sweet Carrot Cake, which has been around for at least, I'd say 4 to 6 years maybe at Bath & Body Works. Always comes in a different package every season. I really enjoy this one. I think that it is slightly reserved, but also slightly cutesy, sort of that hand-drawn Peter Cottontail style. There's a nice mattified translucency to the label, which allows you to see into that green wax. Notes are sweet cream cheese frosting, fluffy carrot cake, and cinnamon spice. If you've purchased this before, this is nothing new, nothing different. This is the same traditional sweet carrot cake that has been out for many years. I will say though, I think as folks have seen, maybe even on some of the shipment boxes at Bath & Body Works, this is sometimes internally or in their back-end systems referred to as pumpkin spice cake or pumpkin cake or something pumpkin cake. Because let's face it, a spice cake is very similar, whether it's going to be a carrot cake or a pumpkin cake or even say zucchini, almost anything other than something very strong scented and flavored like say banana. They're gonna be quite similar. So whether you're smelling carrots or pumpkin, it is a bit of that earthy, sweet, gourd vegetable root, right? So getting my nose on it though. I'm surprised that I continue to buy this for one reason. It's one of those sort of on the nose, really true to life, borderline cloyingly sweet, at least quite intensely sweet bakery fragrances. You do get a bit of that cream cheese frosting, though it doesn't lean toward the tangy side that sometimes cream cheese comes off in Bath & Body Works candles. It is very sugary sweet. That mostly balances it out, and the creaminess comes through. And then you have the spiced cake. I wouldn't mind it being a stronger spiced cake. There's really no essence of depth here. It's kind of one note straight. You know, they call out cinnamon spice. You don't get nutmeg or maybe a little bit of, say, a golden raisin in there, or even a little bit something nutty like a walnut, let alone something conceptual that brings in other notes that you wouldn't typically see in a bakery, but would see in a non-bakery or bakery-inspired gourmand. So this is straightforward on the nose and somewhat simple, but if that's what you want and you're looking for something that smells like a springy spice carrot cake, then this does fit the bill. This is sort of burn this in the morning with your coffee, want something sweet, but it's not an all day or everyday fragrance for me. Then we move into, there's one other repeat here and then 3 new or new-ish fragrances. So we'll start with the repeat that I'm generally happy to see back. That is Backyard Honeysuckle. This collection, not a fan of most of the fragrances in this collection, to be frank. And this design is, I enjoy simple, but this one, something about it I don't like. I don't mind that hand-drawn art is fine. And this is actually a honeysuckle, so I appreciate that it's not some random other flower on here. But the super glossy, candy-like, solid color wraparound label in this collection just doesn't work for me. I don't love it. Notes on this: sweet honeysuckle, orange flower blossom, and neroli nectar. This one smells like a straight up duplicate of the original honeysuckle that came out in probably 2011 or 2012. Was around fairly consistently. I think a few years disappeared, but it is back here. The notes are different than the original, which was sweet honeysuckle, pink peony, freesia, and creamy vanilla. Some of those could be in here. They're really just giving us honeysuckle, orange flower blossom, and neroli nectar. The thing there is neroli nectar is from the nectar from the blossom of the bitter orange tree. So orange flower blossom and neroli nectar, so similar, so hand in hand. One is gonna be a little bit sweeter, a little bit softer. One's gonna be a bit more metallic and intense, but give us some different notes on here because obviously there's more than just those three notes in here. But getting my nose on it, I've not burned it yet. This is that true to life, warm, round, honeyed-like, sweet, powdery, a little bit of green, a really authentic honeysuckle fragrance. Perhaps some more going on in there in the background because some of this powder almost brings it more powdery than just a honeysuckle. And so whether that is some of the orange flower blossom, which can have a powdery essence, or frankly, that creamy vanilla, if that's still in this blend, or the freesia, could bring some of that when you mix in the different florals. So it leans slightly towards sort of perfume style. So straightforward yet conceptual honeysuckle, not just a one note honeysuckle that would be a bit more sweet and light, almost have an airy aspect, because if you as a kid pulled on the honeysuckle and just had that one little drop of nectar on your tongue, it wasn't sweet and concentrated like honey or anything along those lines. It was almost like sugar water, just very, very light with that hint of floral in the background. Almost think like elderflower or Saint Germain elderflower liqueur, things along those lines. And this is a bit more of a heavy hitter there, but I enjoy that. For me, what's interesting is this has been coming out in the spring collection when it comes out typically, but I don't know about everyone else, but for me, honeysuckle feels like a dead of summer, hot August fragrance where, you know, you're down by a pond or something in a meadow and there's just, you know, bushes and bushes of honeysuckles. It just is one of those blazing hot days where you hear some cicadas in the background. It's not so much an early spring floral. If they're doing early spring florals or even spring florals in general, I'd love for them to look back at some of their earlier collections, say 8, 10, 12 years ago, pull out some daisies, some garden bouquets, some really unique conceptual items. This is nice. That's why I purchased it. I may burn it. I may end up returning it. Not really sure, just to exchange. If so, I won't burn it first. But I did grab it because I haven't had it for a couple of years. And before I get into two new scents from their Spring 3 collection, I do want to talk about another likely new scent from the Disney Princess collection. This is the only item I actually purchased from the entire Disney Princess collection. This is the Tiana candle. Notes of delicate water lily, gilded amber, and shimmering bayou woods. So with that, you think, okay, this is clearly going to be somewhat aquatic, but not beachy aquatic. The water lily generally is very, very light, fresh, fine, soft, pretty, airy, a bit sensual like a traditional lily, but with a watery lightness. And when it comes to water lilies, there are many varieties, but Nymphia odorata is the scented variety, and they get their name from Greek mythology, from the nymphs who played in springs or pools. The water lilies like slow-moving or still water in lakes, the edges of rivers, and they are all short-lived. Each flower blooms, it closes at night, and lasts for a few short days. When we think of amber, gilded amber specifically, so we're thinking a bit more golden, you know, it's gilded, coated in that metal. But amber's warm, rich, powdery, and resinous, slightly sweet, sometimes animalic or musky, usually a blend of vanillas, tonkas, resins of labdanum, things like benzoin, which is a spicier take on vanilla. When it comes to shimmering bayou woods, they're not giving us much there. Shimmering, okay, that's an adjective, not super helpful. For wood to be shimmering, I'm not sure exactly what aspect that would bring to it, other than I suppose a light glistening brightness, perhaps wet. When we think of the bayou environment, you could be seeing cypress trees with a fresh, woody, slightly earthy fragrance, tupelo trees, which will have a sweet, woody fragrance, or even certain species of pine that would give a clean, resinous note. Likely they're going for somewhat earthy, damp, maybe even a bit moss-like. But getting my nose on it. It's quite light. I would say, at best, it is inoffensive. It is the fragrance I like the most out of the, 6 princess candles. They just were nothing special for me, which is a shame that they spent so much time and energy, or maybe not so much time, but I'm assuming so much energy, at least on the business side, getting a partnership with a company as massive as Disney. I'm certain that Disney was very prescriptive as far as what they wanted, what was allowed, what was not allowed when it comes to branding, marketing, the phrases, the adjectives. Imagine the creatives in a room for days and weeks aligning on what are the 3 or 4 adjectives for each of the princesses, unless they already just have them in the Disney brand book archives of this is what each princess is meant to evoke or exhibit. But when it comes to putting notes to that gets a bit trickier. Some of them are easy. Okay, Belle had roses, that makes sense. Moana is in the tropical area, so it's gonna be some tropical florals and some sweetness in there. Tiana, around the bayou, we're talking New Orleans. Water lily, not sure. Amber, fine. The bayou woods, I just don't really get anything woody in here. Water lily, sure, because it is a light sweetness. Almost a bit of a candied-like aspect in here as well. I don't really get hot, damp like you would think of New Orleans, or sort of swampy. Not earthy either. It's a lightly sweet, inoffensive, aquatic floral with some amber. I do get amber in there because there is a bit of a powdery, not floral powder, but kind of a resinous powdery aspect to it. Kind of a sharpness from that amber. So I do get the notes, I suppose, though not so much a wood unless it's the tiniest base note pulling everything down. Even on burning, this is fairly light, so I won't return it. I will try to burn through it, but it's one of those candles that you light, you don't really smell it that much, and I never think, oh, I'm in the mood for the Tiana fragrance. One thing I will call out that I think is interesting that I didn't notice, and I don't obviously wouldn't notice until you burn it, is once you burn it, there are actually words that appear on the inside of the label. This is not your typical sort of cutouts or prints on the outside of the label that just allow the flames to flicker through. These actually only appear when you're looking from the inside of the glass to the inside of the label. You don't see it on the outside. It just has words like talented, passionate, dreamer. It's an interesting creative touch, but inconsequential and doesn't really make it special in my mind. So that is the Tiana candle. And we have 2 candles left from the Spring 3 collection. First up, Spring Apple. I'm a fan in general of the colored glass. It's light, almost I would say pastel. Notes here, apple trees, vanilla, and sweet pear. They're going basic. They're not trying to offend anyone with those notes. They want to be so straightforward and simple. Apple trees are interesting that they're not just saying apple. So it's not apple skin, it's not the flesh of an apple, it's not juicy, sweet, whatever apple, let alone a Fuji, a Macintosh, a Honeycrisp, a green, granny, whatever. Vanilla, not even an adjective on there, which is very rare for them to give us vanilla without saying fluffy vanilla, airy vanilla, creamy vanilla, and then sweet pear. So those make it sound like it would be very much a fall apple. And frankly, apples are harvested in the fall, so spring apple, there really is, to my knowledge, no true spring apple, other than they're taking a fall fruit and they want to make it a springtime blend. But I'll talk about it in a second. There's a way they could have done that, bringing a From the Vault one-time release 2012 fragrance back that would have been so great. I would have stocked up. I would have bought at least 3 or 4 of them, and I don't double buy candles almost ever at this point. But getting my nose on it, it's fine. I mean, I'd have to smell some of their recent apples, their heirloom apple, their Honeycrisp, their honey apple champagne candle, side by side to know. This wouldn't surprise me if this is one of those repackaged. I will say you do get a solid hit of pear in here though. I mean, many apple fragrances do have pear in them because they're not quite interchangeable, but they do support each other and they're both seasonally appropriate and they balance each other nicely. And with this, it's almost like, it's not fully pear, but to me, I get more pear than apple. Sort of that grainy texture that you get, almost a bit of a tannic flavor or feeling in the mouth when you bite into a pear skin. The apple is there, but it is not a fresh, bright, sweet, juicy apple. I suppose apple tree makes sense because you are getting a dryness. I think, again, sort of a tannic aspect, more almost from like the apple skins or the pear skins, which, okay, so the trees, I don't think there's really bark in here. I don't know if apple wood is in here, but there is a dryness. So there's probably some sort of wood or something along those lines as a base note in here that they're just not listing to scare folks off. And the vanilla is rounding out some of those mid-bottom notes with whatever woody aspect or tannic or dry aspect is in here that keeps the fruit not so sweet and juicy. And so it is fine. I'll burn it, but very much like the Tiana candle, it's inoffensive, but also inconsequential. I wouldn't buy this again. I enjoy apple pear fragrances, especially if they add in a bit of bark or wood to it, or go the other direction and add in a bit of nectar or blossom. It can be really interesting to see all parts of it. Saying apple trees made me hope that, okay, maybe there's some blossom in there from the apple flower. Maybe it can be a bit dewy like springtime, which would have made wonderful sense to bring back one of my favorite spring candles from Bath & Body Works, Drenched Apple Flower. The notes on Drenched Apple Flower were: a walk through the orchard after a spring shower, crisp Fuji apples blend deliciously with rain-soaked greens and pink lotus blossom. Now imagining that it was this mixture of a sweet apple, there was that dewiness from the morning. It truly smelled like a fresh spring morning with a little bit of that floral and a little bit of the fruit sweetness. It was a beautiful fragrance. And then there actually was a Homeworks fragrance in probably 2018 to 2020 called Orchard Nectar, and that smelled very similar to drenched apple flower. Again, not to harp on the past, but I liked what I liked when I liked it because it was good. But this just misses the mark. This is a little bit more, if there was this sort of spring apple laundry detergent, it could smell like this. So again, inoffensive, inconsequential. And then moving on to our last candle here, Journal Moments. You have sort of, what is that, a quill, I suppose, to write in your journal with a little bit of flowers there, and that baby pastel sky blue glass. Notes of fresh tea leaves, papyrus, and sandalwood. And I think the thing that we all are thinking, or frankly know here, is that the Book Loft candle from fall of 2024 went exceedingly viral over, I suppose, TikTok and wherever else. I don't really know why, because it wasn't anything special in my mind. I didn't purchase it. It was a few sniffs that I gave it, so maybe it's something that I would have grown to love. There are times that you don't like something and you end up liking it, and vice versa. But it was nothing that I really cared to purchase to burn. But it was so popular, and I don't really know why. I suppose it might have been more of those, I always say mood, moment, memory, space, place, or time. Book Loft, it really brings to mind that place or the sort of vibe of, oh, I'm gonna have a book loft and I'm gonna have a, I don't know, a cozy sweater and a cup of tea and I'm going to read for my book club and I'm just gonna be this idealized influencer with a wonderful life and perfectly coiffed hair. Like, okay, I really think that's what it is. People saw people that they liked buying it, they were told it was wonderful, they wanted to get in on it and, oh, I need the Book Loft candle, that went viral. We know that's how marketing works in the 2020s at this point. So I think they were trying to recreate that with Journal Moments just in the idea, not necessarily the notes. And the notes on Book Loft were crisp bergamot, neroli, and cozy woods. Again, I hate when they give us an adjective and not the specifics. Tell me what type of woods, not just what I'm supposed to feel from the woods. But getting my nose on Journal Moments, I go back and forth from thinking it's so light that it is apparently the theme of my video, inoffensive and inconsequential, but it's got something to it. There is a unique aspect to it that I generally like. It kind of reminds me of some of those skin scent fragrances. So it doesn't project far, it's not a powerhouse scent, but they can be very intoxicating at the same time. I feel like that may be a bit what they're going for with this as far as the type of fragrance. I don't know if I pick out tea leaves specifically. I would assume probably black tea leaves is what they would go for here. There is a bit of a dried aspect to it that's not really herbal, so I suppose it could be sort of that slightly earthy, slightly borderline woody, tannic aspect of tea leaves. When it comes to papyrus, which is a note we don't often see from Bath & Body Works, I don't know if we have ever, maybe once or twice in the past. I know some reviewers don't even want to learn how to pronounce notes, let alone teach you what they actually smell like, but for those who are interested or have Google at their fingertips like we all do, papyrus is a reed-like plant native to wetlands, historically used in ancient Egypt for making paper, thus Journal Moments. In fine fragrance, papyrus offers a distinctive scent profile that is dry, woody, earthy with subtle smoky undertones. The aroma feels rich yet airy, adding a warm, resinous depth to compositions. It's commonly found in woody and amber fragrances and pairs well with vetiver, incense, or sandalwood for a refined and sophisticated finish. And as we see, sandalwood is the third note in this candle. And when it comes to sandalwood, that is going to be a creamy, almost sweet wood. Warm, smooth, sophisticated, almost velvety, earthy, soft, with some almost balsamic facets, and a sweet textured richness. Getting my nose on our tea, papyrus, sandalwood fragrance here, I like it, I think. I wouldn't mind it being a little bit more intense or just a bit more unique or kind of let's say like, hey, here I am. It's a bit repetitive here, but a bit inconsequential, but it's different than nearly anything at Bath & Body Works and frankly, different from most things they've had before. I think the papyrus is really the primary note here. The tea leaves add a bit, again, of that tannic freshness. The sandalwood certainly has the velvety, creamy, soft, alluring woodiness that is also bright. And so that papyrus comes through with that dry woody, very much the dry aspect, along with those tea leaves. And it's woody, a bit earthy, but not dank, not damp, not forest-like. A bit resinous, but a real balance between dark and light, rich, but still airy. And I do think that it brings a sort of refined, sophisticated aspect to the fragrance. So it doesn't smell necessarily exactly like old paper, old books, but if that's what they're going for here, I mean, certainly the quill, they want us to think ye old when it comes to this, but I think that this works for what it is. It's not one of those scents that says, oh, it smells like a library or leather-bound books with some paper or even inky. It's more truly conceptual, like in the mind's eye. But I appreciate that they're using papyrus, which is something that was historically used to make paper. So yeah, the more I smell it, I like it. I just wish it was amped up a little bit. I wish it were a bit stronger, because when you take one sniff, you think, it's okay, it's fine. And it's not super, super strong when it throws. But I'll give it more chances. I've burned it 2 or 3 times. I like that they're trying something, putting something in there like papyrus that requires us to Google. Okay, let's learn, let's get educated. Let's pronounce it, research it, and learn what it is. Because if we're not curious, why are we here? So that is my, I suppose, tiny mini rant there, but that's how I feel about what we're doing here. My review and haul on this Spring 3 collection at Bath & Body Works. Let me know what you think, if you've sniffed those or others, what I'm missing, what you think I should get my nose on in the future. And until next time, take care.